Nick.
Brains.
Nick. Okay, this is a bloody screen first, but we're talking about TV, folks. Walking Dead Season 3, a new DVD release. Woo!
Finally.
Yeah, I know, finally. What, finally we're adding TV, or finally we're talking about Walking Dead on our show?
Finally, we're talking about Walking Dead.
Yeah, we really don't... What?
Because unfortunately, one of us here has DirecTV, if I'm right.
I do not have DirecTV, but it is back on AMC, and I think tomorrow, or is it tonight?
It's tonight.
Ooh, tonight. I think I'm going to have to get my DVR all set up, and, you know, well, the reason why I have to do the DVR thing is because I don't... When is it airing? Do you know?
I'd imagine around 7.
Around 7. Yeah, I'm going to get my DVR set up. Watch the first episode of Season 4 of The Walking Dead. Because I missed all of Season 3, and I'll be honest. Well, Season 3 when it was on the TV. And I had to avoid the internet like the plague, Nick. I had to avoid it like the plague.
And I remember I'd always text you, but I would be like, I'd make sure to keep spoilers out and stuff. And you're like, yeah, it's out DirecTV. It's like, oh man. And then I believe you like kind of just saw the stuff on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it was on Netflix. It finally got on Netflix. The reason why I wasn't able to really watch Season 3 for the most part is because AMC and Dish got in a fight.
Dish, yeah, that's right, Dish.
Yeah, it was Dish, and then AMC's like, oh, Dish just said, fuck it then, we won't have you. And apparently, halfway through Season 3, they made an agreement and they came back, but I was like, well, I'm not starting over. I'm not starting in mid-season, so fuck it. I mean, I understand they probably show marathons of it every now and again, but, fuck it. I was just gonna wait. And I avoided spoilers, it was all great. Oh, speaking of which, it is me, Brian, of course, and Nicky G. I say Nick sometimes, and I don't want anyone ever getting confused, even though you guys sound completely different. We just, of course, we have to have two people with the same exact goddamn name on this show, so. We have Nicky G. You're probably the biggest zombie fan out of all of us, aren't you?
I'd probably believe so. I mean.
Yeah. Before we get started talking about Season 3 of The Walking Dead, have you ever read the comics?
I have not. I want to get the comics, but again.
You know Walter, right?
Yes.
He owns the comics. So, and he owns most of them. He owns like 2 big ass books of them that have like the first 20 volumes or whatever in them. I don't really know. But he owns a lot of them. And I was just gonna, next time I see him, I'm gonna be like, hey, how about some Walking Dead comics? And the reason why I also bring up the comics, besides the fact that, this is a comic-based show.
Oh, they're graphic novels?
Oh, shut up, they're comics.
Well, I know someone's gonna get out, is gonna get on us for that.
I know. People, graphic novels and comics, people, I don't want anyone to believe, I'm not that guy who, says comics as if they're like, oh, it's a bunch of, bam, pow, hostess cream pies. No. I think comics have amazing writing in them, and so that's why I can count everything as a comic. So, in the comics, from what I'm hearing, is the prison, which is what Season 3 takes place in. The prison was a huge deal. People were like, oh my god, the prison, it was such, so badass. And I was like, wow, okay. When I heard Season 3 was gonna be the prison, I was like, oh, okay. This is it. This is the season. That's just gonna be like, whoa, fuck. It wasn't the oh fuck season I was thinking it was gonna be. So.
For me, it has some oh fuck moments.
Yeah, it has oh fuck moments. Well, it does. It does have some oh fuck moments. But, it doesn't have, some of the oh fuck moments that, honestly, Season 2 had. Season 2 had some major, fuck, no, and huge fucking twists in it, and I don't think Season 3 had as many twists. I think they, Season 3 had some good plot points, had great stories going on in it, and it had more to deal with, human against human than human against zombie, which I really liked.
Yes.
It was, alright, so, it's gonna be, this is really weird trying to do this, because I'm like, let's try to give a premise here, I guess, of this, of all of Season 3, how it works. We're gonna try to avoid every spoiler we can, folks, because this is pretty still new out there, for people who haven't seen it. So, Rick and the group, they escaped the farm, made it to the prison. They made it to the prison. They had to clear it out of zombies and do all that fun stuff. And, they basically build a home in the prison. They're like, okay, this should be safe. We got fences to keep out the walkers. We got, walls. And, we just got to go out and runs. Well, it's minor spoiler for season 2. Minor spoiler, not really a big one. Andrea gets separated from the group, and she meets up with this black chick. How do you pronounce her name? Rochelle?
I can't remember.
Basically, she's a badass black chick with a fucking samurai sword, and she kicks a hell of a lot of ass. And she meets up with her, but, Andrea is sick because they were surviving over the winter. Yeah, The Walking Dead skipped the entire winter scene, which I thought would have been cool to see, but whatever.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was just kind of like, I think that would have been really big, especially since they were at the prison at that point, so how the hell did they survive the winter?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's one thing I really wanted to see, because honestly, with The Walking Dead, you never see them fight the weather elements, too. You always see them just like, it's always like summer or spring or something like that. And, they're just walking around in midday, night, whatever. But they never have to deal with bad weather. It's kind of weird. I mean, they're all in Georgia. I've never been to Georgia. I don't know what kind of weather they really get. I don't even know how cold their winters get, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, even in the season 2, there's a point where they were driving, they were talking. I won't talk about which characters, but they talk about like how we'll wait till winter because hopefully the walkers will freeze over and most of them will kind of die off. So
and clearly that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Andrea gets separated, but she gets picked up by I don't know how to pronounce her name. Like Rochelle. We're gonna call her Rochelle, okay? Be agreement with that.
I think it was like Rochelle or something
Rochelle,
like that.
Yeah, something like that. It started with an R. They don't really explain how she finds her, do they? I don't remember.
I think it was just Andrea was, she was kind of sick. She was kind of, in a sense, dying while she was wandering the woods, and Rochelle just kind of picked her up and nursed her back to health and stuff and protected her.
Yeah, so she picks her up, and they're kind of basically the entire season is going back and forth between the two stories, between Andrea and what she's going on, and Rick and the group. And then Andrea eventually gets picked up. They get picked up. Not really. This isn't a spoiler because it's like second episode. Merle is back. Merle finds them. He grabs them, and he's like, you guys are coming with us. And there's a town. A town has actually been built, and they live like everyday normal life. They have someone who cuts the lawn. They have some people who are nurses and stuff, and they have big old walls around this little like quiet town. And they meet up with this guy who's the governor. And you can kind of sense there's something wrong with him. Because, it's the Walking Dead universe. There's something wrong with everybody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he might as well just come out of the shadows.
Yeah. Let's be honest with you. This is not really a spoiler at all, too. The governor is a bad dude. He's not a good guy at all. Yeah, he kind of has that, he has that kind of, I guess, good guy, because he's kind of that, he looks like a good guy. When you see him, you're like, oh, this guy, he doesn't look like your typical villain, like Merle does. When you see Merle with he replaced his hand with like a bayonet, and he's like, all fucking evil and shit.
It's one of those things too where it's, when you first introduced to the governor, he does come off as a good guy, but of course, he just, eventually you kind of find out it's kind of more of an act in a sense.
Well, it is an act, and I think in the same episode when you meet him, they show him take out a whole thing of soldiers too. So, they do kind of throw that right out the window. Like, no, he is really not a good guy. This guy has no regard for human life. And Andrea gets picked up by him, and eventually we're gonna be skipping a lot of plot points. Eventually, kind of becomes into this war between Rick and his group. And the governor. I think it is Mayberry. Mayberry of the town, and basically the governor and his people. And it kind of becomes this, war type going on there. And not like a war in a sense where they're, running on the battlefield shooting at each other. Not in that sense of the word, but they're at each other a lot. They're doing attacks against each other for certain reasons. So, that's basic premise, but we'll talk a bit more about the story in general, though. First of all, did you have any episodes that blew you away?
There was definitely some, there were some fuck moments, and there's, because, I've not read the graphic novel, so, of course, I didn't know exactly what was around the corner. I mean, of course, they do differ, I know they do differ from the graphic novels, the plot points, which is good, because, it's something new, but, again, it's one of those things where it's like, oh shit, man, without going into spoilers, it's kind of sometimes it was like, oh fuck, but it's like, oh okay, everything kind of resolved itself, but for the most part, yeah, there's some good moments in there. I mean, I did have some disappointments towards the end, but I guess we'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that a little bit later. Like, all right, like me with some oh fuck moments. I had oh fuck moments when I saw people from like Merle, for example. When I saw him, I kind of knew he was going to be in season 3 just because of the posters. But just how, like, I was really curious on how they're going to introduce him back. And how they did it, I thought was excellent. How they got him back into the story and how they used his character. I mean, every character, it's not, what I really love about Walking Dead is every character has their moments, Every character gets this, you get to dig deep into who they are in this season. And that's something I think, like, honestly, what I believe, the first season, it was really a lot about Rick. A lot of it was about Rick. Second season, it was still kind of about Rick and his family and what was going on between him, Shane, and all that. A lot of it was about that in season 2. Season 3, it's about Daryl, it's about Rick, it's about Merle, for fuck's sake, about Andrea, it's about the governor, it's about, you get to have the backstories, you get to have, like, the deep personal, emotional connections with every single one of these characters.
And you'll see some pretty messed up backstory, especially with Merle and Daryl, and kind of how their family was back in the day. I mean, of course, Merle being played by Michael Rooker, which, I mean, I loved Merle this season. I thought he was he was just awesome.
Mm-hmm. I really liked Merle too. Well, let's talk about the first half of the season. The first half of the season before the war starts between the two. What'd you think of that? The first half of the season, I want to believe is it's a little bit more zombie. Had a little bit more zombies in it than the second half. They were, because the first half is a lot of them trying to clear out the prison and still kind of, you get to see Rick losing it, basically. For certain things happen in the first half of the season that you really get to see Rick losing his mind. And I really thought that was something that was powerful, strong, and the fact that you see the main character of the show, like, kind of going insane a little bit, was just... Well,
I mean, there's some parts where, he definitely goes... bonkers insane, but
yeah.
on the other sense, there are some scenes where it's like, it's not so much insane, but it's like, God, he's just done taking shit,
Oh, he's gone through so much, too.
Yeah. I mean, there's a point in the prison where there's just one favorite scene I like. I won't go into spoilers, but, he just, it's a point where it is kind of like an oh fuck moment, because he just looks at this guy and she's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Bang.
Oh, yeah, I know what moment you're talking about. When, because it gets to this point where, you're actually starting to see a lot of them getting desensitized to death because they just see it and do it so often that, even his kid in third season, Rick's kid, Carl.
Yes.
Carl he's a zombie killing machine now. He's getting headshots and stuff. He's becoming merciless, and it's kind of, honestly, it's the first time I've seen Carl, and I'm actually starting to like his character. Because the first couple seasons, Carl was, he was a kid. He was just that kid who always needed help and always needed to be saved. And it was kind of like, oh, here's the kid in trouble. He's no longer the kid in trouble anymore. He's the kid, he's kind of turning into, it shows how this world is affecting him. And I thought that was just brilliant.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's gone over a major change. And, I mean, even, second season, it's kind of like, I mean, he's learning how to kind of use a gun. Mm-hmm. But in this one, I mean, he definitely makes mistakes, but in this one, he's kind of becoming more independent in a sense, and he really kind of does his own shit, which is great and both shocking.
Yeah, he's not afraid to take charge, and I thought that was a great place to go with that character. Make a kid who's just, he's able to hold his own. He's not afraid of anybody or anything anymore. He's just like, oh, you're a human. I don't care. If you try to fuck with me, I'm gonna kill you, type thing. I really like that. I even liked what they did with Glenn. Glenn's starting to get a more serious role in the show. He's starting to take charge because at the end of season 2, we really start seeing him and Maggie get really close. Season 3, of course, they're really together at this point. And, he's basically everything he does is for her. And I'm like, well, I really can respect that. I really can respect what, Glenn is doing.
Oh, hell, wouldn't you? With someone like Maggie?
Oh, yeah, Maggie's hot, dude. Maggie is freaking hot. I'm like, wow.
Of course, played by Lauren Cohan, of course.
Oh, yes. I did not know that. You have the IMDb up, don't you? There's no...
Yes, I do have the cast up. Cause I remember someone new. I know her from Supernatural as well, so...
Oh, do you? Okay, that's cool. You got him. Daryl, Daryl, they don't. I mean, they have him and his brother, which is that of course they had to have that storyline when they brought back Merle. They have him and his brother, and basically, him having to decide like, well, what's more important, my new family I developed, or my original family, Merle. And he, it's kind of showing Daryl get torn between the two, which is kind of, that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a scene where this special part where it's kind of like, it's just a point where just Daryl and Merle just have to work together, and it's just kind of like, even when they're both just alone, they're just badasses.
They are both badasses because you got Daryl, who's more like agile, and he's able to like, he's really good with knives and stuff and his bow. And then you got Merle, who's just a powerhouse. He's just he'll tackle fucking zombies down and just start stabbing them or punching them to death. Which, okay, I got some things I got to talk about in the series though. Zombies are is it just me, or are their skulls extremely weak now?
Well, I mean, as you imagine, I mean, these are rotting corpses, so of course, you're not taking any calcium, and your density of your bones is depleting, so.
That thought has been going through my head, because there's one scene where Rochelle actually just steps, and she doesn't stomp, she steps on a zombie's head and just squishes. And I'm just like, okay, because, that thought went through my head too, like, okay, clearly these are decaying people, they're zombies are decaying, so of course, so I guess they wouldn't be as, strong, like, because if there's sometimes, they're just hacking these zombies with, like, shovels. You just hit the zombie in the face with a shovel and have his head comes flying off. I'm like, oh, okay, it's not Braveheart here, God. Come on, guys. That always kind of makes me laugh. That, but not as much as everyone apparently can get headshots. That one concept just makes me laugh my ass off. Like,
it does.
It's one of those things that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so with a walker, these guys, Rick can hold his revolver, his big ass .45 caliber, one hand, shoot it, get a headshot. But when they're having a battle with the other people, the Maryberry, they can't hit like broadside of a barn. And then all they have to do is hit them. They don't even have to kill them. They just gotta hit them. And I'm just like, Okay, so you could get a headshot on a slow-moving zombie, but some guy kind of taking cover, you can't, nick him?
Yeah, that is one thing, too. I mean, well, then again, of course they are living, and walkers are slow, but, I mean, I can understand the points where, the walkers are closer, because, okay, I can understand that, but, yeah, I mean, they were, just shooting these people from, 45 yards away, just boom, look at that.
I understand practice makes perfect, Nicky G. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they should be all terrible shots and hitting them in the torso a bunch. But fucking hey, are they? I was like, God damn! I don't even
especially Carl.
Carl. He's a little kid and he's just like, boom, boom, boom. And he's like the only one smart enough to ever get a silencer.
Yeah.
I was like, no one else has a silencer. You guys, when you guys are raiding whatever, you guys like a gun shop or whatever, you guys can't find a fucking silencer. Even though this show also does not show silencers how they kind of really work, but we're not going to get into the logistics of realm of reality with a world with zombies in them. With the Mayberry thing though, that's really interesting what they do, because Mayberry, because it's more of a civilized thing. They have, like this scientist guy who's kind of experimenting on zombies, trying to see if they're any formal part of their human self that still exists. I thought that was pretty cool. I kind of wish they would kind of get into more about the zombies though. That's something this show, like when they explained what the hell the guy told him in season 1. That I don't know if I should say it. Can I say that? I don't know, because it was revealed in season 2.
Might as well.
All right. Well, the fact that we're all infected. Like, in this universe, everyone actually has the zombie virus, so if you die, you become it. Doesn't matter if you were bitten or not, you're going to become one.
Which is one of those things where it's kind of like, okay, for me, it's kind of like, well, that doesn't really affect me because I don't want to die either way, so yay.
I know, it's not like I was like, well, I was going to die, but, I guess the only way you could not turn into one is if you died by getting shot in the head. That's like the only thing I can think of. And they do actually mention one interesting thing, though, in the show, like the zombies do actually starve. Yeah, something everyone always was questioning in the zombie universe. Can you just wait out the zombie apocalypse? If you have like a bunker full of food and you ration it properly for like a year or so, can you actually outlast the zombie apocalypse? in a way, yes, you probably could. I mean, if they had nothing to eat. But unlike, George A. Romero zombies, these things do eat animals and such, so it's not just, they just want flesh. They don't want just humans or, they don't want just humans. They want anything.
Well, I mean, I think there was a point, I can't remember, I'm pretty sure this was in The Walking Dead, but there was a point where it was just kind of like, these zombies, they're just, since they are zombies, they're mindless, and they will just eat just to eat. It's just their instinct to eat. So they'll eat, and their stomachs will kind of just burst, but they'll keep eating.
I think, I want to say it was, I want to say that, all they do is just, they eat. They only have, like, their basic instinct. Like, they don't need sleep or anything. And I kind of also wish they'd bring back that one thing from season 2, like the herd of zombies. Remember that first episode of season 2? They never introduced that in this season 3. I was like, well, that was kind of a novel idea you had there, like where these zombies are actually starting to get a little bit like more like animals, where they're starting to herd together. But they kind of dropped that off. Like who I said in the beginning of this, like this is all about humans. This really shows the whole thing, like kind of the whole point of The Walking Dead, where the zombies suck, they're terrible, but the humans, oh god, they're so much worse. I mean, this one, holy shit, would you want to say that this is the darkest season?
Yes.
I want to agree with you. I don't really, we don't bring up race a lot on this show, but I have to say, Walking Dead, this is a minor spoiler, so people who want to, like, if you think I'm going to be spoiling something by, saying this, call me out on it, but I really want to say this, because this thought went through my head. Walking Dead kills off a lot of black people.
They do.
Yeah, like they kill somebody off, they bring somebody new in. Then they kill somebody else off, and then they bring someone new. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, would you stop killing the black people? Like, you kill off hardly, not saying like hardly any white people die. Maybe it's just because I'm white, I just don't notice the white people getting killed as often. But it's just like that whole thing where I just saw like, oh, well, there goes that black carrot. Oh, they brought another. Oh, there goes that one. Oh, there goes that one. I'm like, Jesus Christ, really? It's like you guys are aiming for these fuckers. You start, like, they get one character and he has a small role, and I was like, okay, this guy clearly is going to be a crucial part. Nope, he died.
Like, there was there's, in the graphic novels, there's a character who is African American, and he is I think, a lot of people say it was T-Dog.
I think it was T-Dog. T-Dog was supposed to be a badass or something.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. It was like Theodore Douglas.
Yeah.
Was it? But of course, I mean, they don't really say that T-Dog is Theodore Douglas, but of course, he is supposed to be a badass. And in the series, in the fucking TV show, I mean, T-Dog is kind of a badass, but kind of like, he just...
Well, season 1, he was just kind of there half the time.
Yeah.
Season 2, he got a bigger role. This season, he had an even bigger role, but, he's always been kind of a side character, which was kind of sad. I was just like, because when I heard that too, I heard the same thing, saying like T-Dog was supposed to be this badass, instead they just have him doing like mundane tasks or whatever. I was a little sad. And that just kind of, I was like, well, that kind of sucks that they're cutting this character off short, Well,
I mean, they do just pick off their black cast like nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, besides Michonne.
Yeah, I was really thinking that they were going to kill her off too, to be honest with you. The whole time I'm just sitting there thinking like, holy shit, you guys are picking off your black cast. Did they piss you off? Like, I'm not saying like, and the worst part is the fact that when they're doing these scripts, they know they're black people. It's not like they're just writing the characters and being like, okay, well, this character dies, and then they just happen to cast a black person. When they write the scripts, they know they're a black person. They cast for a black person to be that character. I mean, of course, T-Dog had to be black because in the comics. And maybe they're just going, and maybe like I said, it kind of sucks that neither one of us really read the comics. Because then we could actually know if these characters are dead in the comics and that's why they killed them off, or if they're just characters they made up just to kill off,
I mean, you get introduced to, you get 3 new black characters in the season.
Yeah, you do.
And I know, like, they do pick them off. I think there's, like, one that kind of does he's there now. He survives, and he's not really getting picked off. I'm not sure. I mean, we'll wait till it's night to see if he's there.
I know. We'll wait till the night to see if they kill him off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah, and you have an excellent point there. Like, you know, they do introduce another one. It's not like they just pick them off and then they're like, nope, it's all white cast. No, they do introduce more of them. And like I said, I'm not trying to make this all about race. But yet again, I also was thinking the whole time, like, why is Glenn the only Asian?
I mean, how many are left? I mean, come on. That's a rare species nowadays.
Not in Colorado, it's not. But maybe in Georgia. I wouldn't say it was probably the state they're in. Like, maybe Georgia just doesn't have that Asian population that, like, Colorado does. And that's the same thing I was thinking with Latinos, because they have, like, that one main Latino guy. And, yeah, you know, that's all they have. Well, they actually had one early on in the season, but, you know, we won't talk about what happens to him. Goddamn. You know, sometimes it's really hard to talk about this show without trying not to spoil anything. You're just like, yeah, and then, yeah, that happens.
I mean, even if we talk between, the controversy between Mayberry and Rick and his group in the prison.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that Mayberry, you know, they're not bad people. It's just the governor who's kind of just tricking them into thinking that, you know, these are raiders. These are bad people trying to attack us.
I agree with you. But it's not just the governor. It's, you know, the governor's right-hand men are also kind of bad people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, his right-hand men, the guys who he trusts the personal information with, they're not good people. You know, they're willing to shoot civilians if they have to. They're kind of the soldier that, you know, just following orders type thing. Actually, Merle actually uses that line in this series where he's like, I was just following orders. And they're like, you know, who also said that? Nazis. You know. And it really is one of those things where it's just like, yeah, that's not really an excuse to do these horrible things. And, you know, some things that the governor does, it was just kind of out there. But you really do get to see him go from, like, this all-powerful leader to, like, this kind of guy who even his own people start looking at him like, what the fuck, dude?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's something I thought was awesome. They also introduced another character who I will not name. Well, it's minor naming him by just saying this one thing. And if people who are big Walking Dead fans will know what I'm talking about when I say they introduced that one character from season 1. And I'm like, oh, about time you show his ass. You know, I've been waiting for a long ass time to see him again, you know. Yeah, they finally brought his ass back, and I was happy about that. And the good thing is, you know, he's also coming back. So, you know, I guarantee we're going to see him maybe this next season that's coming up.
I mean, even the trailer for season 4, it looks like they have a lot more people coming in, and even during the prisoners, you know, there's a lot of new faces. So it's like, damn, you know, who knows?
And if you want to know something funny, when I was hearing about the prison for the longest time, I thought that, you know, because they go take refuge in the prison, I thought they were going to take refuge in the prison. And I heard about the governor. I was like, oh, so the governor's probably. I thought he was an actual governor that went crazy, and he's in a prison just being like king shit up fuck mountain. And, you know, I thought he was the one running the prisoners, and the prisoners were doing all his dirty work, and Rick was just trying to keep his group alive. I never would have thought, like, when this season took me by surprise when I found out, oh, it's another town where they just named this dude governor for whatever reason. Did they ever say why they gave him that name? Just because he was in charge?
I think it's because they're in charge. He's in charge, but I think they do reference it at one point. I think they talk about it, but I'm not for sure. It's been too long to really say.
All I could say is, anything else you want to talk about this season? Because I'm trying to think. Because, like, the only thing we can do is spoil the shit out of it by now, without kind of think of.
I want to talk about the season finale without going to spoilers. For me, it was kind of disappointing for me. I thought it was alright. It kind of reflected the character, but it was kind of just somewhat of a letdown for me, because it was like, really? Is that what you're going to end it on?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because, like, alright. Because season 2 had a powerful ending season finale. When you saw the end of season 2, you're just like, fuck! What? No! And then it just kept going, no, yeah! And then this one was just kind of like, well, I mean, that's sad that character's gone, and, oh, okay. You know, all's well that ends well. Yay! Happy ending. Happy.
Well, so it's a sad ending, or, you know, that certain characters are gone. It's just how they resolved the whole thing, because you have this clash between the two, and it just kind of resolves in somewhat of a poor way, which I mean,
Well,
it makes
in
me,
some way. It's not, there's, I wouldn't call it fully resolved just yet. By the way, it ends. If you don't, you know what I'm talking.
yeah,
People who've seen this know exactly what I'm talking about. Where I'm like, I wouldn't say the battle with this battle that's been going on. It ain't over yet. You know,
yeah.
Rick may have won the battle, but the war is not over. Let's put it this way. And I agree with you though. I say it sets up perfectly for the next season, but it didn't have me like going like, oh, season 4, like the end of season 2 had me going, oh, season 3, where it just ends and I just want immediately season 3 to start, I'm kind of glad, oddly enough, I finished season 3 right the same week as season 4 is about to start, so yay. But
Yeah, I mean, I definitely that one thing. I mean, usually I rewatch everything. I usually do a marathon myself to get caught up to make sure, pretty much to make sure I have everything back in my head and get ready because I try not to oversaturate myself with it. So
yeah.
But since I haven't gone back to rewatch everything yet, but since it's coming out tonight, there's no point in rewatching because I want the time. But either way, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm fucking ready now. I'm happy. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm going to be ready to watch it, finish it, have all that fun stuff. All I have to say is, before we get into our ratings, what would you want to see out of season 4? Like, just speculation, because neither one of us know what's going to happen. Without, of course, spoiling. Like, what would you want to see, like, what direction them go, in general?
Ooh, that's kind of hard. I mean, I guess I kind of like to see the zombies come in more as a threat. Stuff. I'd like to see that balance. I thought they kind of did use the zombies as a weapon. Maybe did, which I thought was cool. I kind of want to see maybe more of that, of kind of just really tactical thinking between the two, just going at each other. But I mean, hell, I can really think of what exactly I want to see now. I just want, it really depends, just what they do with it and if I'm going to be happy with it or not.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I kind of want to see them, at this point, I want to see them leave the prison at this point. Because, this is minor spoiler, by the end of the season, they are still in the prison. So, I want to see them leave at season 4. So that's something I want to see. And I also want to, I want them to keep up with the characters, because I think it's really cool how they're making these characters strong. With the new characters, the old characters. I'm kind of doing a head count of who was from the original crew. I'm just like, well, they got him left, and him left. Okay, they don't have much. But they keep getting more, so, that's one thing you gotta love about Walking Dead, is like, oh, they killed off that character, but they're gonna introduce like a few more to either be killed off and be there for a while and then be killed off later on, So, I'm excited to see what they do differently. I do want to see zombies become more of a threat, and I want to see them be on the road again for some reason. That's the main thing I want to see them do.
Well, I think it's because it does make zombies kind of more of a threat because you're not in a secure place.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's like kind of why I want them to be forced to leave the prison for some reason. So that way they have like a more of a threat with zombies. And also, one last thing I want to add about season 3. They kind of disregard all the don't use guns shit. Because a lot of times they're having these firefights and I'm like, isn't that supposed to attract hordes of zombies by doing that? Like, that's why you guys don't use guns, is because you want to be, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, what else are you gonna charge at the Mayberry guys with the fucking spear?
Well, no, I'm not saying they shouldn't have used guns. I'm just saying they should have probably had all those zombies coming toward. I don't know. I'm just going with their logic, Nick. I'm going with their logic, using it against them. But like, well, you guys said if you use guns, that attracts a lot of zombies, which maybe there's not many around in that area. So that's kind of what I want to use my logic with. Like, well, there's not that many around in the prison.
And usually if they do show up, the prison, Rick's group does usually take care of it. I mean, that's one thing too, especially now, is Rick's group generally does know what to do with zombies and how to deal with them.
Very true.
So it does make them not so much as a threat.
Yeah, zombies are slowly becoming less of a threat because Rick's group has become so good at killing them. And maybe that's why they had to, season 3, introduce more of a human element. Where humans are the threat now and not just zombies. Alright, what would you like to, our rating system now, right? The whatever out of 5. Nick, other Nick, of course, told me that we should do like a, start doing kind of like, if you remember that show X-Play, did you ever see it?
I did not.
Kind of do what they did, like, we give it like 4 out of 5, like stuff like that. And I say, yeah, why not? During audio stuff, just kind of make it so that we just, I'll put down the star thing at the bottom of this anyway, so it doesn't matter. But what would you give this?
Ooh. I'd give this 4.8 out of
A 4.8?
Yes.
Okay, 4.8. All right. I want to give it, it wasn't perfect. We talked about some of the flaws we saw in it. It wasn't wasn't as good as season 2, but better than season 1 in my opinion. So I'm going to give it a 4.5. 4.5 out of 4.5 out of 5. Yeah. That I'm going to give it 4.5. It's damn near perfect. It really is. But they have some things where I'm just like, they do some plot points where I just kind of like, and plus that ending. I really think the ending was what would have bumped it up that extra. And I think that was both our main problem was with this, just how they ended the series, not the series, but the season was just, it wasn't as well. How many seasons are they going to do this? Do you know?
I do not know. So I know the comic or the graphic novel is still going from what I heard. So
it's still going on. It is still going on. So maybe are they just going to keep going until it stops, or are they going to go Breaking Bad style? I don't know. That's something I guess we're just going to have to wait and see.
Yep.
All I can say is, folks, tune in next week to find out our thoughts about the first episode of season 4. That is it, everybody. Good night.